Ladies and gentlemen, the truth about selling final expense is that it is absolutely 100% hard. And what I'm going to do today is describe why that's the case and how you can overcome these obstacles to give yourself the best chance of success selling final expense. Number one, final expense is the ultimate intangible product. So remember the last time you purchased a car, it was a great experience. You got into the car, you drove it around, you got to smell the new car smell and really experience what it was like driving that vehicle. You see, that's what we call a tangible experience. It makes sales a lot easier because the product easily sells itself because you get to experience actually using it. And this is exactly why final expense sometimes is so hard to sell. It's hard to explain to some people they need to be prepared to die. Let's face it, it's a conversation none of us wants to have and is not exactly fun to talk about. Plus, what you're buying is something you have to get when you die, unlike literally every other product out there that gives you instant gratification. So to sell final expense correctly, you have to be good at selling the intangible. And the way you get good at selling the intangible is by asking open-ended questions to help paint in the prospect's mind what it's going to be like when they die, what will happen if they're not prepared, and more importantly, how their beneficiaries will live knowing that they left them with a huge bill to pay for their final expenses. If you're not asking solid, open-ended, disturbing questions, then you will fail at selling final expense. Number two, the saturation effect. Right now, at the time of this filming, there are so many commercials, junk mail, phone calls that prospects are getting soliciting them to buy final expense life insurance. You're about to enter an arena where there's tons of competition vying for your client's precious attention to sell them a policy. It's not like final expense is some new product that no one knows about. In fact, it's an old product most everybody thinks they know about, so you're likely going to get a lot more pushback and resistance than you think you will when it comes to booking appointments, getting in the door, and closing the deal. So what's the solution? You have to sell yourself and not the product. You see, people buy from people they trust. People buy from people they like. And ultimately, it doesn't even really matter about the insurance company you're selling, but it matters about you and your connection with the prospect and their feeling as if you understand what their problems are and therefore can be trusted to solve them. Here's an example of what I mean. Let's say you're an agent with a well-known company like New York Life or Mass Mutual, but you're a total jerk. Do you think that most prospects are going to buy from that agent with a reputable company with an attitude that's terrible? Of course not. So the way you differentiate yourself from the saturation that our prospects are getting is to sell yourself and be able to overcome the resistance you're definitely going to be experiencing when it comes to trying to book appointments, when it comes to the pushback that people get from making a commitment to buy. Number three, issues with lower income mentality. One thing you'll find very quickly in the final expense space, you're dealing with a lower income clientele. And poverty, in some ways, you could say, is not just a state of financial affairs, it's also a state of mentality. While not all of our clients fit the mold of a poor mentality, many do. And many of our prospects have had a lifetime full of making poor decisions when it comes to their personal finances. And the truth is, you're not going to change that. You spending an hour on the phone or in person with the prospect's not going to change their behavior. And this reality has to be respected. And this is why when we tell agents about the truth of our prospects and what to expect, it's better to work within the confines of reality than it is to live a fantasy that doesn't actually exist. So here's how we overcome some of that natural disposition to have a poor mentality and still help out most of the people that we sell policies to. So the first thing you got to do in final expense to make it less hard is to sell competitively priced products. Now, you don't have to sell the lowest premium product out there, but I really think that most agents should seriously put weight on selling competitively priced products because our clients are going to have other agents in their house and you're going to risk being replaced if your product's too expensive. So selling something that's competitively priced is going to give you that much more success rate than if it was overpriced, thus risking you getting replaced. Number two, along with selling competitively priced products, make sure that you're also selling fully comprehensive coverage according to what the client can qualify for. Here's what I mean. If I have a client that has COPD and I've got a product that can give her first day full coverage, well then why would I want to sell a 2-year waiting period policy and not fully cover that client? Because what may happen, very high odds chance, is that the client will have another agent in the door, be shown that product that fully covers that client, and then you end up getting replaced. So do the best job for the client up front. Give them the best coverage that your products allow for, and you'll see a lot better persistency in the quality of the business that that does not lapse and stays with you. Number 3 is being very careful with making sure you don't oversell your final expense product. Again, our prospects are 50, 60, 70 years old and beyond, and let's face it, they've made a lot of poor financial decisions. I mean, think about it. They're this old and don't have life insurance. There is something to be said about that. So what I like to teach my agents to prepare for the reality of selling final expense prospects is to make sure that they don't fight over price and always make sure that the client can comfortably afford whatever you're selling them. Look, what happens is if you push a product that's outside of the client's range and you somehow talk them into keeping it, guess what happens? They wake up the next morning or some morning in the coming months and decide they can't afford it, lapse it, and now you've got a chargeback to pay back. So bottom line, just make sure that what you sell is comfortably affordable to the client, and if it's not, just simply lower the price, lower the coverage, and get them something they can keep. Because it's not the policy that pays, it's the policy that stays that counts. Another thing you need to respect is the timing in which you take your client's money on an automatic bank draft basis. You see, most of our clients receive Social Security, and many of our prospects will run down to the ATM the day they get their money, pull most of their money out, and if you're late getting to the ATM to draft that policy fee, then you're toast, you get a lapse. So what I like agents to do is to use what's called Social Security deposit billing. What that does is time the exact day to when the Social Security deposit hits the account so that we're never late taking the money. We're literally in a race to the ATM to beat our client. And if you gotta wait extra days because it's the weekend, or if you gotta wait extra days because it's a holiday, chances are you're not going to collect the money successfully. So use carriers that have Social Security deposit billing to eliminate this risk and increase your overall quality of business that actually sticks. Number 4, rejection is real. Okay, you're selling a great product. We all know that people need life insurance. Most people will agree. But the truth is, the actual act of buying is different from the act of believing. In other words, taking action is a true demonstration of belief. And when you show up and the client doesn't know who you are and you're asking for their money or their commitment or their time, chances are you're going to get pushback from a lot of those people, even the people who are going to end up buying. So you're going to hear no a lot. And I mean like a lot. So how do you deal with the rejection that comes with final expense sales? Number 1, understand that rejection isn't personal. How could they reject you? They don't know who you are. They don't know what you've done in your life. How can they make a sincere judgment? Now, what the prospect is rejecting is your offer, is an appointment, is you as a stranger. They just don't know enough information to make a confident decision, but it's not a wholehearted rejection of you as a person. And the good news is with good training, you can overcome some of these issues that you will definitely hear when it comes to rejection as you book appointments, get in the door, and close. And last thing I'll say here is that even the best agents hear no and push back all the time. It's not like you'll overcome the objection issues that are inherent in our final expense sales business. But what you really have to think of is you have to expect it, and then you have to accept that it's going to happen, and therefore anticipate it on every call attempt, door knock, and presentation attempt that you make. Again, we're living in the confines of reality, not some fantasy world. So we want to make sure that we're prepared to overcome the objections that people have because we know that there's sales in some of them. Number 5, you are a target. So one of the most frustrating things agents discover as they journey through their final expense sales career is that not all agencies have their best interest at heart. In other words, agencies sometimes have underhanded strategies and goals that aren't necessarily thinking about your welfare and your outcome as the center point of concern. And what I'm about to describe here are a few things that some agencies do to turn you from not a partner, but into a target to monetize you, to make money off you, even if you don't ever make a sale. First of all, one of the biggest things that happens in this industry are these big name MLMs. You know who I'm talking about. You see their content all the time. They actually upcharge you by a tremendous amount, selling you aged leads or selling you data and repackaging as if it were a lead that actually requested information. And these business strategies are lucrative. There's one particular agency supposedly making millions upon millions of dollars weekly selling data as leads to unsuspecting agents who most of the time find out that the leads suck and end up thinking this business, understandably, is a complete racket. Another thing a lot of agencies like to do is to charge you for training. I mean, think about it. You're joining an agency to learn how to sell, and they're taking your money. Sometimes Sometimes you'll also see things like desk fees or technology fees. I liken these to the dock fees that these car sales lots do to just jack up the price for no reason whatsoever. It's just another way to take more of your money that you think sounds legit, but just really isn't. Another thing in the final expense business, again, there's a big multi-level marketing influence. What a lot of these agencies will do is they'll turn you into their lead generator, working your friends or family, selling them a policy, not cutting you in on the deal, and you think that you're learning how to sell when they don't actually spend time to train you on anything. But what you realize is they just squeezed you dry of your network, your sphere of influence, and you have no training and certainly no income to show for it. So how do you avoid all these shenanigans with the agencies out there that are recruiting you under pretenses that you may not believe or appreciate? Number one, ask tough questions up front. Ask the agencies, do you have a focus on recruiting, or do you have a focus on teaching agents how to sell? Ask them how leads are generated. Are they purchased leads, or are they some kind of leads that are generated from you? Pay attention. Look at the agency itself. Is there a lot of Kool-Aid drinking going around? Are people hyped up on their own supply thinking they're the greatest thing on earth? If you get that vibe, trust your instinct. Look, I'm excited about selling insurance, and I like to think I have a high level of energy, but I'm not prancing around in front of my car, my vehicle, and my other stuff because I know how that works on people's psychology. It's kind of like the sleight of hand. It makes you think, oh, you're so great, you've got all this stuff, what you're selling must be true and work. But that is the ploy that they use to convince you to join their agency, and only to discover it's just a MLM Kool-Aid drinking hype fest scheme. And as we wrap this up, these are the 5 things that make selling final expense super duper hard, but understand there are ways to avoid this. You have to do your due diligence. You have to find an agency, hopefully, that's focused on training you to sell, not recruiting everybody you know. This business is a marathon, not a sprint. You need to learn the fundamentals of how to be successful, how to get leads, how to sell leads, how to overcome objections, how to scale your business to success, how to stay disciplined and consistent in your execution of your strategy. And it's over that long period of time, sometimes years, that the true fruits of this business really bear. In the opportunities to have freedom, the opportunities to have independence, truly shine and are available to those who commit themselves to the process and don't take the shortcuts that many agencies try to offer them. If you'd like to learn more about the Ford Insurance Group to sell final expense Medicare annuities or ACA, go to davidduford.com/FAQ. Make sure when you go there to click the free courses link at the top. I'm giving away all of my best sales and marketing training for final expense Medicare annuities and ACA. We're talking scripts, we're talking sales training modules, pretty much everything you need to know to be successful, and there's no cost, nothing to buy, and completely free to everybody, licensed or unlicensed.